too early. You're good now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Voorhees Township Committee meeting of June 24th, 2024. I would ask everyone to please rise and join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. February. Present. Mr. Platt.
Here.
Mayor McDonough.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Do note this meeting has been published by the clerk in both the Courier Post and Inquirer newspapers, as well as electronic notices required by law. Also, a copy of the annual meeting notice has been posted on the bulletin board outside the Township Clerk's office.
Thank you. Our first matter this evening is the first reading of an ordinance of the Township of Voorhees, County of Camden, and State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 154.006 of the Voorhees Township Code entitled Buffer and Landscape Design Standards. Do I have a motion on the first reading of that ordinance?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Quit it.
Hearing none of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Our next matter is the first reading of an ordinance to vacate an easement and right-of-way at 5 Chippenham Drive, Voorhees, New Jersey, 08043, tax map block lot 20. Do I have a motion on the first reading of that ordinance?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next is our public comment for resolutions only. If anyone from the public has a comment on any of our resolutions, please come forward.
Seeing no one, move to close public portion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public portion for resolutions is closed. Our resolutions this evening are resolution number 175-24, memorializing an executive session from the meeting of June 10th, 2024. Resolution 176-24, accepting a performance guarantee for Eureka Stone Quarry, Inc., Block 150.04, Lot 8.03. Resolution number 177-24, releasing a maintenance guarantee for Panda Express, Block 150.18, Lot 7.15. Number 178.24, releasing a maintenance guarantee for Voorhees Pediatrics, Block 199.03, Lot 32. Number 179-24, authorizing the renewal of 2024-2025 liquor licenses. Resolution number 180-24, authorizing the ratification of a memorandum of agreement between the Township of Voorhees and the International Association of Firefighters Local 3249 regarding hours of work and overtime. Resolution number 181-24, authorizing the reappointment of special officers in the Voorhees Township Police Department. Number 182-24, authorizing the hiring of John P. Sweeney as a police officer in the Voorhees Township Police Department. And resolution number 183-24, authorizing the hiring of Mark Hopkins to the position of part-time fire protection subcode official in the Voorhees Township Construction Department. Do I have a motion on those resolutions?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. There's no need for an executive session this evening. Next is approval of our minutes of May 13th, 2024, our minutes of June 10th, 2024, our executive session minutes of June 10th, 2024, our registrar's report for May 2024, and our bills for June 24, 2024. Do I have a motion for approval of those?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next is comments from committee. I would like to express our congratulations to all of the different levels of the graduates of the class of 2024 here in our town. Thanks to our Voorhees Art Commission, our graduation mural outside of Town Hall here has been updated and is a wonderful place for graduation pictures. Any comments from our committee this evening?
I just wanted to comment that our Voorhees Diversity Committee did an amazing job last weekend with our first Juneteenth celebration. I hope it is the first of an annual event that we will continue to have and grow here in our township. And also to invite everyone to the Eid celebration at Connolly Park this in 2 weeks' time on the 30th of June. That is hosted by a variety of local town organizations and sponsored by our diversity committee.
Thank you. Our final portion is our public portion. Anyone from the public has any comments? I know our friends from the Bike-a-thon are here this evening, so come on up. It's nice to see you.
Hi.
Yay!
Mr. Mayor and members of the committee, we thank you for allowing us to come again and speak. Just as a reminder, I think I'm pretty familiar now, but I'm Jeff Craighead. I'm a cyclist and also a volunteer member of the planning team for the Greater Delaware Valley Chapter of National MS Society and Bike MS City to Shore. So I'm here to thank you again for all the support you've done over the years. We're entering our 44th year as a ride, and personally,
Me too.
Personally, it's my 30. Yeah.
I think I've been here for all those years.
Maybe. Well, I've been here for 32 of them, not here, but I've ridden, and this will be my 32nd year riding. And I just want to remind you, I always try to think of a new way to say the things that I've been saying every year, but 2 years ago, I told you about the groundbreaking news that the Society added to their mission statement that we will cure MS. And prior to that, they were unable to say that. They've been able to say that because of research dollars spent largely by the MS Society. The MS Society, National MS Society, has funded $1 billion to date on research, and just in this year alone, 374 projects to the tune of $40 million are being funded. And I think I always introduce my wife, Pam. She was diagnosed in 1993. She's benefited greatly from the medicines found during that research, as have the 2.3 million people worldwide with MS, 1 million of them here in the United States, 15,000 of them here just in our local area. And the society could not do this type of expenditure without Bike MS. Bike MS nationwide is a significant part of the budget of the National MS Society. And Bike MS in general is a big contributor, but I want to point out how significant the ride that you're part of is. I've mentioned before that we're the second largest ride in the country, but what does that really mean? Well, I've had that driven home to me. I've had the opportunity to ride in other MS rides around the country. I've been privileged to be part of what they call the Passport Program. If you raise over $5,000 in a given year, the society allows you to ride any Bike MS ride in the country for free with no additional fundraising. I've taken advantage of that. I've been to Maine, Vermont, Buffalo, Lake Erie area, Gettysburg, many of those places twice. And just this year, I've already done 2 rides. I did one in Williamsburg, Virginia, and just this past weekend, I did a very hot ride in State College, Pennsylvania.
Yay,
And
we are.
I want to highlight them because it illustrates the significance of our ride, not to diminish their ride, but just to give you a little statistics. So in Williamsburg, they had 400 riders, and they've raised so far to date $500,000. In State College, 106 participants, and to date they've raised $300,000. Just to remind you, last year we had close to 4,500 riders, and we raised $4.3 million. So that's what it means to be the second largest ride in the country, and we are a significant contributor to that money that the society can give towards research, and not only research, but local aid to people with MS, also advocating in legislatures. Just in this past year, 26 states passed laws to help MS people have better access to care, and that was a result of advocacy by the National MS Society. So the money is significant, and as I've said before, Bike MS would not be Bike MS without the townships that we ride through, and you're a key link in the chain that gets us from Cherry Hill to Ocean City. So that's why I come here every year to thank you, and it is greatly appreciated. And just to remind you, just the housekeeping about this year, but it's the 28th and 29th of September. So we're totally in September this year. I think we've bled into October the last couple of years. So the last weekend in September, and we know we impact you, but I think I've mentioned you have the benefit of being close to the start line. So we'll be on Crescent Road, crossing Evesham, Centennial Boulevard, but probably only between 6 and 9:30 on Saturday. It can spread out all day, 9:30 to 4 on Sunday, but if you've ever taken note, it's a lot less people ride both days, and it's spread out. It's probably not a whole lot different than just people out for their Sunday ride as far as the impact on your community. But I do also always like to point out that we are very thankful to the police officers and how much help that they give us every year, because we want to be safe, and the police officers help us get through the intersections, and we really appreciate that. And I want to stress, it's an ongoing mission of ours to educate our cyclists in safety and courtesy. We want to leave as small a footprint on your community as possible. And we will continue, the staff at the MS Society will work with the police and the township to work out any traffic issues and try to, again, minimize that impact that we have. I think I've mentioned in other years, one of the things we do is we hand deliver a letter to every single house that we ride by on the ride. And it tells them when we're coming, what to expect, etc. And that's just something that we do every year. So you can imagine quite a few houses. It takes a bunch of us to fan out over the route and deliver those letters. So lastly, I would encourage you to get involved. You could ride if you want. You could volunteer. In addition to the 4,500 cyclists, we need 1,000 to 1,200 volunteers to make the weekend happen. And I know just this weekend I was thanking the volunteers, and they always are very nice and say, "Oh, you're doing all the work." And I always say, "No, but I couldn't do it if you weren't here giving me Gatorade and food at the rest stop." So it's a team effort. You can go to mscycling.org to, again, sign up to ride or to volunteer. And as always, I have some information I'll hand out to each of you. And we have the plaque. I don't know if you have 44 of these hanging somewhere in the...
Proud to have all of these.
We're wallpapering the bathroom with it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very good. So,
We were
again...
going to buy tile, but we didn't need to.
Yes, very good. So, again, I want to thank you and ask you if you have any questions. You're veterans that's supporting us, but do you have any questions?
No questions, but I want to say thank you. I think I shared with you last year my mom was diagnosed around the same time as Pam, and the National MS Society was a huge support for our family. As a, I guess I was a preteen at the time, I recall attending family support member meetings at our library where we lived at the time. And it was also the first organization we would attend certain conventions. And my mom was introduced to different color glasses. And it turned out that wearing a pink lens would diminish her optic neuritis and her double vision.
Wow.
So long before there were any drugs available for patients of MS, the National Society was looking for ways to alleviate symptoms. So we were very lucky to have been introduced very early in her diagnosis to that. Happy to say she has been in remission for quite some time. Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
And I also have my dearest friend from high school and law school was surprisingly diagnosed at the age of 22 after suffering a terrible migraine and a bout of optic neuritis during law school exams. As you can imagine, the stress of that. Even, that was more than 2 decades ago. I told you, it's 44 years right there. Even though that was quite some time ago, at that point there have been many significant strides. So she's been medicated, and therefore because of that has been able to live a wonderful life, has a beautiful child, and despite having some concerns along the way, really she's been able to manage her disease and her symptoms very well. So I'm a huge supporter, happy you're here, and I wanted to let you know that I will ensure that our diversity committee and our art commission, who tend to be a big chunk of the volunteers in this area, have this information, as well as the students who work with us through our liaison groups with the high school. They are required to have volunteer hours for National Honor Society and things like that, and I think that this would be a great opportunity for them.
Yes, that's a great thing for high school students. That's true. Just an example of the change in all those years. Larry Kane was the founder of the ride, and his mother was told to move to Florida because the heat would help her. Oh. And heat is absolutely the worst thing for MS people. So that's how things have changed from 44 plus years ago. So thank you for those comments. Any other questions or comments?
Now, I will, as I always do, dedicate one of my weekly mayor's columns to the event, and ask people to volunteer, share the information, and we can't thank you enough for really being the impetus behind all this. It's a wonderful cause, and someday, for the right reason, maybe you can stop doing it.
Right, right. Yes,
So
that is true.
When we're done, we'll get a picture, if you don't mind, of you presenting us the plaque.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else to say?
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that have any comments?
Seeing no one, move to close public portion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public portion is closed, and we are adjourned.